And you know, just this morning, my wife sent me a proverb from Turkey that when you elect a clown and you think that he will be a king, what he does is to convert the kingdom into a circus. And I am suggesting to us that that is part of the African problem because it starts with political hygiene. Most of Africa is suffering because we do not have democracies. We have kakistocracies. And kakistocracies are governments by our very worst. This is what we must deal with, and this is what we must say. Who do we elect into our public offices? Because, as I've said before, when you allow hyenas to take care of goats, why should you be surprised when the goats are eaten?
But is it not ironic that as the president of Nigeria is in Saudi Arabia, attending a round table, and we're talking about attracting investments and cooperation both ways, Saudi Arabia and Nigeria, a Nigerian airline, Air Peace, was to land in Jeddah on Monday, yesterday. It had 264 passengers on board. The preliminary check-in processes had been done. There was no complaint from the other end, only for Air Peace to be disallowed from disembarking its passengers. In fact, on arrival, the visas that have been approved for the 264 persons on board was cancelled. And at the moment when the president of Nigeria was there, still attending a round table on business with the Saudi authorities. No, I think that is disrespectful to Nigeria. It is shocking. We may be celebrating investment and all that, but it should be at the level of mutual respect. And to the extent that reciprocity is a major element of diplomatic relations, the Nigerian government should take this seriously. Yes, the Nigerian embassy in Saudi Arabia intervened, but what did the Saudi Arabian authorities do? They said, oh, okay, they will take just about 80-something persons to enter Saudi Arabia. They sent back 177 Nigerians who were on board that Air Peace airline. What effrontery. The principle in international relations is the equality of states. So it's not for the embassy to now go and negotiate 77 people. The next thing that the Nigerian government should do, any Saudi airline that comes to Nigeria should be sent back immediately. Why do we have a bilateral services agreement with them if they cannot respect us? We will reciprocate. That was what should do. And the Nigerian government should immediately, even when the president is still in Saudi Arabia, summon the Saudi Arabian ambassador in Nigeria to come and offer explanations. Why would a Nigerian carrier be treated like that? And then beyond that, I think it's important that the Nigerian government, any Nigerian airline that is given the opportunity to fly abroad, must be designated a flag carrier. Whether it's privately owned or not, must be designated a flag carrier of Nigeria, so that our sovereign rights can be properly respected. Otherwise, all this attracting investment and partnership and collaboration, we will still be treated with disrespect. And that should not be part of the equation. I hope the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is listening. They should summon the Saudi Arabian ambassador immediately. What is that?
I mean, very well said, Dr. Abati. Very well said. And I must commend you for saying that. But there's a need for partnerships, and that's the reason for that meeting. And there's a need for collaboration. You know, Nigeria pushes its weight on the African continent, and Nigeria is a great country. And also seeking partnership and relationship with Saudi Arabia, it has to be said. And the people that were invited there were invited for different specific reasons. My boss was there, a man I respect so much, Sunduka Bayagbana. He was invited as a business leader from Nigeria. It was a special recognition by the Saudi authorities on the immense role his media outlet Arise TV has played, not just in Nigeria, on the African continent. So there's a need for those collaborations, cross-sectoral. But also, what there's a need for is us as a people to grow internally. And I'll come back to the point Dr. Abati made about how the Saudi treated us. This was the same Saudi Arabia that in the 70s, their top royal family used to come here for healthcare and UCH in Ibadan. Why? Because we had the 5th best healthcare system in the Commonwealth. No, the number 5 best teaching hospital in the Commonwealth, according to some literature. This was the same Saudi Arabia that will not treat us like this in the 70s, in the heydays of Nigeria. The question is what changed? And that speaks to our leadership and our elections and everything we keep complaining about on this station. If we do things right internally, nations will not take us for granted. The reason why Africa as a whole is going cap in hand to have bilateral to get investments from countries that used to respect us before is because our nation, our leaders squandered our riches. I mean, we've been saying it on this show, but some surrogates of some party kept on abusing us. That President Buhari did a lot of damage to the economy. But I'm happy Nuhu Ribadu, the National Security Advisor, also came out to say it today. So we're correct. In fact, some 7 ministers in this administration, when they came on the show, when they were serving the Buhari administration, told us that we're lying. But now Nuhu Ribadu has said they bankrupted the country. So if President Buhari had not bankrupted the country like Nuhu Ribadu said, are we going to be going cap in hand to be begging and all of that with Saudi? Nigeria is a strong nation. And that's why we keep telling our leaders, do right. It's not about corruption. But we built a culture, and also the people to support them, because what is in it for me? Just like the people that were giving vote buying money, they keep saying, oh, let me collect this once and for all. But you are collecting your future. And that's why when you vote amiss, you have problems. So it goes back to leadership. So if we truly fix leadership and we do all the things right, and our economy starts to boom, they wouldn't treat us this way. I know you also make the argument with me that, oh, Saudi Arabia snubbed America. Saudi Arabia king at some point just gave Joe Biden a fist bump and reneged against Joe Biden and all of that. The question is, the reason why he can do that is because America too is going through its own challenges. But leadership reigns supreme. So we'd like a proper investigation into what happened. Dr. Abatia said, yeah, all the flights should be designated flag carriers. This was what we expected the government to do, but you know, when we ought to do things, we don't do them. Till today, Adi Sirika went away with what happened with Nigeria Air, that we've not had the end of it. So today we don't have a flag carrier. What I would have thought is government will have invested in airlines like Air Peace and some other airlines to have flag carrier, but today we are not going anywhere. Just like Saudi today, see how the Dubai authorities have also treated us over the years. When Nigeria still has that bite. Nigeria always has a bite too. But in the 80s, when things were still a whole lot better, when this happened, we know what the government of Muhammadu Buhari did as reciprocal action to Margaret Thatcher. Then they grounded the Nigerian airline. So let us introspect. And that's why we keep calling our leaders, do right. All of this is an indication that our nation is falling. The Yorubas have a saying that if, you know, think on Labagbeni Shole, what it pretty means is that once a mighty man has fallen, little crumbles and all of that, we just march over it and treat it in certain ways. And that's why we have the country we have today. And I just hope we introspect. But we also need to do the needful following the diplomatic ground. And we need to make a strong position known to the Saudi authorities. But also, it's teaching time saves 9. We should also look inward.
But saying that I have just wrapped up my interview with world-renowned archaeologist Zawi Hawaz, and he has made a lot of discoveries, and he gave me some secrets. That interview, I'll be bringing that by tomorrow. But I'd love for us to quickly touch on some stories that are making rounds in Nigeria, because I see that we do not have a lot of time. I'd like for us to talk about the story emanating from Saudi Arabia on Monday, where visas of all 264 passengers transported by Nigeria's largest airline, Air Peace, were turned back by authorities of Saudi Arabia. We don't know why. At this point, it seems like some sort of aerospace politics that they are playing at this point. The authorities did that when the president of Nigeria was in Saudi Arabia. Some sort of, it appeared like some sort of conspiracy against the Nigerian airline at this point, Dr. Abati.
Well, I mean, we mentioned this earlier, that it is very embarrassing that the Saudi authorities will treat a Nigerian airline in this manner at a time when the president of Nigeria is there and businessmen from Nigeria are in Saudi Arabia, and they're having discussions about how to promote trade and investment cooperation between both countries. And I said that, look, this is disrespectful, and that the Nigerian authorities should take the matter seriously. Because as it turned out of the 264 passengers, when the Nigerian embassy in Saudi Arabia intervened, the Saudi authorities now said, okay, about 177 people should be sent back to Nigeria. The remaining should be allowed to get into Saudi Arabia. When originally they had visas and boarding checks confirmed that those visas were valid and that the airline had not done anything out of place, the airline had followed procedure. So this looks like unfair practice on the part of the Saudi authorities. And given that Nigeria and Saudi Arabia has what we call the bilateral air services agreement, BASA, well, the big thing there is reciprocity. When Saudi airline is also flying to Nigeria, they should be sent back immediately, because international relations is based on mutual respect, equality. And the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Nigeria said they are investigating. They should not just investigate. They should summon the Saudi ambassador to Nigeria to come and offer an explanation. And beyond that, our airlines in Nigeria that fly the international route, they need the support of the Nigerian government. They should be made flag carriers so that when they fly, they are representing Nigeria, and they will be given better courtesies and respect. But I think it's so embarrassing that our president is there and this has happened.
Yes, I think so too. Rufai, over to you on a quick comment. I mean, I strongly agree with Dr. Abati on that idea of reciprocity. I mean, I think some people on social media, if I can pull up some tweets, are even saying that they should give Saudi Arabia the Abacha treatment. I don't know if you remember back in the 90s when Abacha had banned British Airways. At this point, I think it is a disgrace. I think it is unfair. And I think that the Saudi Arabia authorities have a lot to answer at this point.
So like I said this morning, because we have to wrap up now, Audrey, like I said this morning, this is unfair, this is sad, this is abhorrent. And it's also a very sad one, owing to the fact that our president is there and we're talking to the Saudi authorities about business and trade ties and all of that. And it's just sad because Air Peace is doing well. Air Peace is getting a very good load of passengers into Saudi Arabia, and probably that's why this politics is happening. But most importantly, it's a clarion call for us as Nigerians to also look inward. The way we treat ourselves internally will determine how other nations treat us. And that's why we keep telling our leaders, fix this country, make it right. If you make it right to an enviable standard, Saudi Arabia too will not treat us this way. But I totally condemn what Saudi has done to us. And we should, I call for reciprocity as regards all of this action. But I know we have to go now. Doctor, wrap it up.